Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Glad you could join us tonight. We got a lot of news to discuss this week, and we got a lot of great comic book talk to talk about with our top five under the radar, most anticipated, all that stuff. So again, guys, glad you can join us. I have Kat Comic Uno with me,
Hey guys, what's up?
and then we have Brant Fowler, who's trapped in a hotel. And
Hey, what's up?
so if he's a little rough at times, just bear with him because again, he's on hotel internet.
Exactly. Yeah. What's up, everybody?
At least he made it. He made it for you guys, made it for us. So thank Brant.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. So I'm going to hand it over to Kat. Thank you so much for you guys watching tonight. And once again, just a reminder, thank you all who supported the Kickstarter as well. Last week, we were definitely funded. Do you guys remember, what was the exact percentage?
It was 125% funded.
Yeah. So
two stretch goals unlocked. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, thank you so much, guys, for supporting the Kickstarter. And like I said, I'm going to hand it over to Kat. We're going to get started with this news. Don't worry, we will talk about the Star Wars news right before the comics. We'll let the audience build a little bit, and we'll see what you guys think about that news, if you even care about that news. So take it away, Kat.
Yeah, we're going to get into some media news first. And this one I wanted to talk about, which was that Bendis is writing for an animated show on HBO Max, which is the Cover creative series he made, which was for his imprint for DC Comics. I think I read the first issue, maybe I didn't. But what I thought was interesting, A, it's an animated show, so kind of following the Invincible route. And then B, he's writing for the show, and the artist is directing / directing the storyboard artist for the show. So it's really the comic book creative team making a TV show, which I thought was cool. I don't know if I'll check it out, but I just thought it was interesting information to see a comic so ingrained in this new show.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Kat. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and if Bendis is going to be doing more TV now.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. Congratulations to him and both of them, actually.
Yeah. Keep going to TV.
Yeah. I think I read that first issue too. I don't remember what it was about, but it sounds familiar.
I don't either. I know we've tried at least some of those first issues.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't a huge fan though.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I don't remember which one that one was. I know there was one about a comic artist, and
that might have been it.
It might have been. I don't remember.
There was a Pearl one as well. I don't remember either, but yeah, that's news for Bendis. I've already seen comments about this. We're going to talk about it. Mike seems like he saw the trailer. I actually didn't watch the trailer. The Snyder Cut trailer. This is the official trailer now. And of course, Brant didn't see it.
Of course not.
He doesn't watch trailers.
I watched, they talked about it on the Today Show yesterday. And then I obviously watched the whole trailer today. And obviously, when you watch the trailer, you can kind of see what the old stuff was, and then you can kind of see what the new stuff was. And, with this being out, it does pique my curiosity. Like, I want to see what obviously is different. The trailer looks, it is what it is. It's cool to see Darkseid in there because you got to see Darkseid, which is kind of cool. You end up seeing Steppenwolf in his different form and him bowing down to Darkseid, saying that this world will fall and things like that. But you see a lot of the action. You see Superman in the black suit. Looks like it is a better movie, I think, overall. And I mean, that's all I can really say about it. I mean, I can't make a real true judgment of it until I would actually see it. It probably is better though than what we got in the movie theater itself. But when you can put it on a streaming service and extend it out to 4 hours and tell the full story that you wanted to tell, I think it is going to be better, right? You're always kind of restricted in the movie theaters.
Yeah, it's just I disliked it so much that I don't know that I would even be willing to sit through it to see if it's better. You know what I mean?
I'm
Right.
definitely on your side on that one. I'm
Yeah.
just like, I really was. There was not one thing in that original movie that I was interested in, so I
Right.
can't see a longer version of that movie making me interested. And also didn't really like any of the other Snyder movies, so I don't know. It just doesn't interest me. I don't think I'll
Right.
spend my time watching it unless I hear it's like, this is the best movie ever made. This is like the new Godfather. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll check it out. But
Yeah.
I am sure it won't be.
I mean, I really liked Watchmen and I like Sucker Punch, but yeah, I can live without it.
I just and I say this like, oh yeah, I would sit down and watch it, but again, like I've told you guys, I don't have HBO Max, so there's no way that I'm going to sit there and actually probably watch it anytime soon, unless it's somewhere else on Blu-ray or anything like that.
Yeah, if it does well, they might do a Blu-ray Blu-ray release. I was just reading a comment from David Berg. New background, hotel background.
Yeah, hotel background. The Alamo picture above me, actually. You can't really see it, but yeah, there you go.
It's in his new temporary office.
Yeah.
His office for one day will be the background only ones you'll ever see.
Yep.
So going into the last media news piece, which is that Yara Flor TV show is not moving on, which I was actually like a little surprised by. I was looking forward to the show, but at the same time, like we don't know like much about the character besides the 2 issues. So to make a whole TV show about a character that literally was just introduced, like I'm okay with it. But yeah, CW makes some weird choices. I don't know.
Yeah, I love this character. I mean, we've seen her in those 2 issues, but also in Justice League and Superman and Wonder Woman. So we've actually gotten like 6 issues of her, and I think she's fairly consistently written throughout those. And I'm in love with the character. So I'm really disappointed that the show's not going forward. But I do understand your point too, Kat. But hopefully they'll revisit it either there or somewhere else later on.
Mike, do you have an opinion on Yara Flor?
I was thinking about it too, and I was like, I would want to see a show about it, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, oh well, if there's no show, there's no show. And if they release it later on, they'll release it later on. It's not like I'm missing anything right now. Because what happens if they do release this show and they don't get the character right? And we hardly got a comic series yet. Then people are going to be like, this version of her on TV is completely different from the comic version. Not like we haven't seen that before anyway, but it's just like I would think that you would kind of want to get that right from the start.
Yeah, and to Kat's point and your point, we don't have a whole lot of material to draw from for her yet. So maybe once that series is out and there's more material there, and see how that's received, something will happen with it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'll enjoy the books right now.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Which speaking of, we'll go into actually we talked about that last week that Yara Flor was going to be out in May, but let's get into some comic news, which is new Defenders in May. So we are getting a new team, Doctor Strange being the lead again. What do you guys think about that?
Now, I thought this was kind of cool because the Masked Raider is featured on there. Yeah. So we haven't seen that character since Marvel.
Oh, I forgot about him.
1000, right? Yeah. So it's like he was a really good character in that book, and we were all kind of wondering like, oh man, this guy has potential. I can't wait to see him in the future. And he kind of just like died, and we haven't seen him since. So honestly, if he wasn't going to be in the book, I probably wouldn't care so much about this book. But now that he's going to be in it, I definitely want to check this one out.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's like when I saw Masked Raider, I'm like, it was like Defender, whatever. We've seen this before, but Masked Raider, it's like, okay, there's a thread that they completely dropped. So let's see if they're actually going to pick this up and do something with it. So I'm curious for that alone.
We do have a comment from Willie who says, "How's the weather, everyone? Cold out here." Yeah, cold.
Yeah. We single digits for Texas is not common. So.
Today is probably
Definitely
one of
not.
the nicest days in Florida that we had in a long time.
What's the
71
temperature?
degrees,
Oh my
clear
God.
sky,
You suck.
nice light breeze. Like we've had a lot of rain the past few days, and it's been really hot for some crazy ass reason. Like really hot, like almost 85, 90 degree hot, windy,
Jeez.
and just a ton of rain. But today we just wind up having this nice dry air come through. It was a gorgeous day. That's why I felt so bad. I was like, man, everyone sucks right now, and we're perfect.
You
Yeah.
are too lucky. I don't remember how hot feels like anymore. I've been using a heating pad, not because my back hurts, just because I've been so cold. I was like, I'm going to use
Well,
a
to
heating
tell you the truth, I mean, in Florida here, it's actually been a cold winter. Like there's been multiple days where we've had 30-degree days, 32-degree days. Like we've had, obviously we don't get snow, but we've got a lot of frost over the, most frosty days that I've seen in a long time here. So that's what I mean by the weather being bad and cold and rainy a lot. So this is the nicest day in a long time.
Yeah, it's we were talking about it before the show. I'm in San Antonio, and we had about 5 inches of snow on the ground yesterday, and black ice everywhere, and it was like 9 degrees yesterday morning. It's like this is not Texas, man. Come on, where's my Texas heat back at?
That's crazy. So yeah, weather is wonderful right now. But we're going to get into the next news piece here, which is Batman is introducing a new villain, Miracle Molly in May. I actually did a video on this on my channel, if you guys want to go check it out. But I like her look. She has more of like a tech look, and it definitely is a little different than what we've seen with Batman in a while. I like that he's introducing new characters. I just hope they all have a home to be explored.
Yeah, it kind of plays into what they were building up with Future State too, doesn't it? Like the more tech driven, kind of leaning towards a more futuristic Gotham, which is kind of cool. So, hopefully it's not just a throwaway character. They actually do something with her. Yeah. So I'm curious about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's so little on her right now, so it's like it's hard to get a idea of what she's like. But yeah, doesn't she have like a cybernetic eye or something like that? And
Yeah,
and she's got all these neon colors, like these pinks and greens and whatnot. So she seems like a real different type of character for Batman, because Batman, you're used to dark and gritty and real evil, and then here you got this chick, and it's like I don't even know what to expect from her. So this is something completely different, I think.
Yeah, I kind of love that. It's like you were saying, it's his typical villains are either kind of like the Mad Hatters and Scarecrow, kind of a little crazy, or they're like the serial killers, and it's all very dark and gritty and noir. But this is definitely a different direction for that. So that could be cool. Yeah.
We have another question from JJW. What do you guys think about Flatline? So that character is showing up in Robin. If you guys saw the solicits, I don't know what the character is all about because I didn't read too much into it. But her looks cool.
Yeah, it's like she's wearing like this like Halloween costume, like with skeletons, like bones on it. So like if you look at what she's wearing, I'm just like, okay. And then I don't know, maybe she just like kills people like with the touch or something. Like I don't even know anything about her either. But that book looks cool. I'm excited about that book.
Yeah, I didn't see that, so I have no frame of reference for that one, but cool. I'm just glad that they're introducing a lot of new characters. Like I think somebody said, and you guys said, it's especially coming out of Future State, where we're getting back to the present, right? So it's kind of cool that they're setting the stage for the future of DC.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I went through the solicits as well, and I did my most anticipated books for that month of May, and it seems like an exciting time for DC. We're getting new stuff. The books are coming back. The only thing is that, of course, like every book is $5, and if you want that variant cover, it's going to be $6. And I just don't think that's necessary. People don't want backup stories. Like if you're going to make a page or book 40 pages, just make it the main story. I'll pay another $1 if you give me the main story, but I don't care about backup stories,
I definitely agree with you. The only devil's advocate I'll play with that is like maybe sometimes you'll get a backup story of a character you would not otherwise be able to get a series from. And I get that, but yeah, on the flip side of someone who's reading Justice League just for Justice League and not Justice League Dark, it's like, well, why don't you just make it digital then? Like, give us a different avenue. It's 2021. There's other ways to make these books inexpensive.
I was just gonna say real quick. The other argument for it is if it's a newer creative team, like newer creators, younger creators, whatever, that you haven't seen tackle these characters before. That's kind of cool too, giving them a shot to shine and see what they can do. But that's not always the case with these. So.
I was just thinking about it. Kat, you said make it digital. You know how Marvel has like the digital code of the same book in their book? I think this would actually be well because you can promote digital and physical here, put a backup story in that physical copy, but make it digital and have a digital code in there. And then you can retrieve it and read it on your phone or whatever that way. So you're paying $1 for the digital book, but you're still paying the $3.99 for a physical book. So basically, you're getting 2 books in one, and you're not being overcharged. I think that actually would make good sense.
I really like that idea, and I might steal it for my books in the future. That's a cool idea. Yeah, that's a really cool idea, Mike. That would be. I would be more willing to try stuff like that. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like perpetual advertisement,
Right.
Get your digital copy of, say Robin Internal, issue 2 right here. And you're paying just $1 for a digital code so you can read it. I think that's a perfect way to balance out both things there.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's hope that's the way of the future. I don't think it will be, but it'd be definitely a good way of the future. So moving on to Jeff John pending a Stargirl special. So I'm a huge Stargirl fan. I'm excited to see Jeff Johns tackle the character again. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to her story in Infinite Frontier.
I'm excited for well, when I saw the solicit for this, at first I thought, oh shit, I'm like Jeff Johns doing a Stargirl ongoing at first, and then it said one shot. I'm like, shit. I'm like, that sucks, man. Nevertheless, though, I'm excited for the one shot as well. And I'm on board for a Stargirl book. And just to see, Jeff Johns do some writing again is always a plus in my book.
That's true. I agree
with
that. We
did get a super chat from Tevia. For some reason, it's not showing up on the side here, but I'll showcase this, that he sent a super chat.
Awesome.
I will say it in a little bit of a kinder way, Tevia, but why future state, I'll say, which we will answer. Thank you so much for the super chat. We do see it. Why future state? What's the point of future state? I only think time will tell. I don't know if DC even knows what the point of future state is just yet. So I don't know, honestly.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think on one hand, it could be a way to introduce some of these characters fully realized as opposed to just their origin stories. So you can kind of see what kind of characters they're going to become or, what could possibly be in the future. But I mean, it all depends on if they actually pick up those threads and work towards that at some point, which we don't know if that's actually going to happen or not.
Right.
Other than that, it's just a cool kind of what if event.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you again, Tevia, for that super chat. We really, really appreciate it. I wish we had a better answer for you, but it's a tough one. Were we still on Stargirl? I'm sorry, because I saw that.
I just finished, and I don't know if Brant had something to say about it.
No.
Okay. So next up is Milestone Characters, which we knew they were going to get some sort of series. Now they're finally announcing which ones. We have Static Shock, which is getting a first miniseries, Icon and Rocket, Hardware. I'm just excited for Static Shock. It's been a long time coming for a lot of these characters, so I hope they promote them well and we get some physical copies, because I won't read them digitally, but I'll definitely read it physically.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat there. I mean, I love that they're doing. I just wish they weren't digital first, but I guess I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is to do digital first, but I was going to try to help them out
behind it. It's like, oh, we're going to release maybe this one digital and that one not, and it's just so weird. It's like, how can you expect people to get on board with digital if there's no consistency behind it, you know?
Yeah. And it's just weird also to have two different release dates. So like when they come out physically, it's you know, I don't know, people that got them digitally read them months ago, and it's like, yeah, it's just weird how
it makes the experience not as interesting.
Yeah.
But I think the only thing I would be interested in is Static. That's just me personally, though.
I don't know a whole lot about some of the other characters, so I would probably try them. Icon, I think was one of their primary characters, right? It was one of their star characters.
Yeah.
So I'd try that one. I don't know a whole lot about the rest.
I would look at the artwork and see if that spoke to me for the other series. Like if the art looked really good, I think I'd give it a shot. But yeah, the only one I definitely would give issue 1 a shot for is Static, like we all said here.
Yeah. I love Static, but in all versions of them.
Me too. I loved the show growing up, so I want to see what they would do with the character in a more modern setting.
Yeah.
So moving on to a one-shot that was announced, which is the Asian Superhero Special. And this one we actually get to see Catwoman getting a sidekick, which is interesting. I believe her name's going to be Catgirl. Let me see. Let me read the actual thing. Ron B, the current cat.
I'm sorry. I heard that she had a sidekick once before, though.
She did. I from what I can remember, there's a lot of characters that became Catwoman. I don't know if they were her sidekick. They were like people that took up her mantle. Because we had the one when she was in the New 52 who took up being Catwoman for a while. And then what the hell is her name? The one that's the more popular one also took over. But I don't know if she's ever had a sidekick.
I don't know.
So we'll see where that goes. But in this one, she's going to become a protege, revealing her real name, secret origin, who her mother is.
I like it for the simple fact you don't see a whole lot of the female characters with sidekicks.
True, honestly. Yeah, I agree. I think that'll be interesting. And I'm gonna give in there, Tevye, the Holly Robinson was the Catwoman I was talking about. So yeah, I'm gonna try out at least that one shot. I'm not reading Catwoman though, so that's what makes it a little bit more difficult. But I'm excited for this because I'm a huge Cassandra fan. I think it's great that we're getting more Asian representation and stories that seem to really matter. They're not just like, oh, here's a random short story. It looks like it's going to be affecting the other series, which I think is cool as well.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll definitely check it out.
So Chevy is actually about the Batman 88 comics and the Superman comics. I had it on the list, but none of us were super passionate about it, honestly. I don't think any of us are going to be getting it.
I mean, but what is it? Just like Michael Keaton and Christopher Reeve playing as like Batman, Superman?
It's a comic, so it's like following those universes. So it's going to be like the Batman universe they're going to do comics for, and they're going to be doing the Christopher Reeves comics.
I mean, the only thing I can say is if you're a fan of those movies, that you will probably want to check that out, right? So I don't know what they're going to explore, because the movie, especially Superman, I mean, we've seen their movie, so what's going to happen in between that, right? What are we going to talk about? The solar guy again, whatever his name is, and it's just like, I don't know. It will be interesting. Is it going to be kind of corny like that, or is it going to be like more serious? Is it going to be like a comic, like just with Christopher Reeve's face, and then you do the Superman universe? Same with like Batman. Is it going to just be Batman, Michael Keaton, and just him dealing with everyday Batman stuff, or is it going to be like that Tim Burton style? You know,
Right. That's what I was thinking. If it's more like the Tim Burton style, that could be interesting, at least visually.
right?
But yeah, it's the same kind of thing. It's like we've seen them do this with Arrow and with Smallville and different properties like that. And I've never been able to get into those for whatever reason. I don't know, but that could just be me.
Is it going to be like the Batman, like what was it, 66 or something like that?
Yeah,
I think it'll be a similar vein. It's gonna I think be like Smallville, where they're continuing the story or whatever. But yeah, again, I don't think it's any of our thing. I'm not a hardcore fan of either movies. Like, obviously, I think they're important and they're good movies, and definitely for its time was really important. But not enough for me. Like, I've always wondered what would happen next in those movies.
Right.
So we also have a question from Zombie X Dance. Speaking of digital first, have you guys gotten Lemire's new book? None of us really read digital first. I did see of it. I got an email about it. That's the only reason why. So I think he's doing a Comixology book. But what I've seen with Comixology, oh man, I don't remember what it's called, but Lemire and Jock, I could probably get it up. Snow Angels. It just came out, or it's coming out. And but with the Comixology originals, they've been reprinting it with Dark Horse. So if they do the same thing of what they've done with the previous ones, I'll probably read it if it comes out through Dark Horse.
It's probably good. I mean, Jeff Lemire's been doing great stuff lately.
But would you go out your way to buy a digital copy of it?
No.
I don't think I would.
No.
Yeah, the art looks cool. I'll say that. I mean, it's Jock, so that's neat. If
that book was coming out physically, I would have it. I would have it on my
I don't go out of my way to buy digital comics. I really don't.
I mean, like, Jeff Lemire usually works with artists that are a little bit more abstract.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. This one's more, I don't know.
Gritty.
I like the style of this art. So when it comes out physically, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, I think it looks cool. Again, very few books I'll get digitally. Very few. Like if Spider-Girl, if that was the only way I could read her, I'd get it digitally. Like very like big characters.
That's different
that I like.
because that's your favorite character. So that's
exactly.
Yeah.
Other than that, I wouldn't really go out to get a digital book.
It's not even that for me. It's like I don't mind reading digital books. It's just I don't think about them when I'm getting my books. I don't think.
Yeah, they're not in your head.
Right, exactly. So I just
they're hard to talk about too, because like, okay, you might have remembered, but me and Mike would have forgotten, or like it's hard to keep up. You'll read the first issue and then you'll forget about the second issue.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's very challenging.
Yeah, I like the habit of just going to the store and picking up books, looking at the books, and it sounds dumb, but that's just the way it's been for so many years. Going onto the website and searching the website for books just seems different. I mean, that's just me being old, I guess. But Kat, you're young, so it's just like I mean, I guess it's how do you feel about it?
I think I'm in a weird generation where I'm kind of in a half of like I grew up with digital age of stuff, but I also in other regards still had like the dial-up tone when I was growing up for the computer. So I'm very much in that generation that's always been half and half. And I think I feel the same way with comics. It's like, I don't mind reading it digitally, but it's not really, I grew up reading physical comics, but I'm sure the generation after me might feel a little different than that. They might really love only digital comics. I don't know.
Yeah.
So going into the next news piece here, we got Teen Titans and Suicide Squad crossing over, which, wow, already crossover, like issue 2. They're like, you know what we need is crossover, which, I mean, Superboy crossing over with Teen Titans is cool, but yeah, seems a little bit too soon for me.
I don't mind it because I feel like part of the issue with DC, I always thought, is they had lack of books that crossed over, and it never felt like a really cohesive universe besides like death metal. You know what I'm saying? Or whatnot. So I think that's kind of cool. And when I read the solicit too, it obviously all has to do with Amanda Waller. She wants to the biggest, the baddest, the strongest Task Force X that she's ever had. So she's trying to recruit that speedster Bolt, and so that's a part of Teen Titans Academy. So that's how it crosses over between those two books. Now, I don't know if it continues after the particular month of May or not, but I really don't mind it. It's not like it takes place in 20 other books or whatnot. And honestly, I was going to give Suicide Squad a solid chance and Teen Titans Academy a chance anyway, so it's not like I'm losing out on anything.
Yeah, I'm kind of on your side of it, Mike, and at the same time, it's like this actually does feel like it could lead into what we saw with Future State with Suicide Squad if it goes down that route,
right?
Especially with Superboy. So it's this little cohesion there, little continuity going on, which I appreciate. But I get the point of everybody saying that it might be a little too soon, but it just depends on how they handle it. If it feels rushed, then it's rushed. If they pace it well, and it makes sense, then cool.
Right.
So next up, one of our favorite topics to talk about, but also in recent months haven't been, Spider-Man is getting a special with Kingpin. So it's a giant size connected to the Amazing Spider-Man. I don't really care about the Kingpin story. I mean, obviously I'll get this, that's a matter of fact. I'll definitely get this issue to see if it connects and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I haven't been feeling this. I don't even know why Kingpin's really involved.
The interesting thing about it, what I read was this arc is going to start in Amazing Spider-Man with Kingpin, and this issue is the end of that arc, so you won't get it in the main title. You have to read this to get the end of the arc.
I'm not surprised by that. That's honestly a very Marvel thing to do.
Yeah.
Do something like that. And it's a very Spider-Man thing to do as of recent years, because they did that with a special, I think 2 years ago. I forget what special it was, but they've done that in the past.
Yeah. So
they hinted on that storyline too in this issue of Amazing Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It has to deal with that whole tablet of nonsense.
Yeah.
So that's what this king size special is going to be about. I mean, I like how they keep it in that traditional fashion of like how it's a king size. Like they've been doing those issues forever. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But again, the story is just like,
yeah.
Why?
Right.
Just like continue with the storyline and just like finish Kindred and do something, like either go finish it, go back to something, or just stop jumping around so much.
Yeah, it's like I appreciate that he's not leaving these threads just laying around, that he's picking up everything that he's placed throughout the series, throughout his run, and kind of trying to finish that out. I appreciate that, from a writer perspective, but yeah, I just wish it was more interesting stories.
But also could be done in a neater way. It could be done in the main series if constructed better, honestly. I feel like, not my thing. And honestly, Tevye brings up a good point. Wow, Marvel, you're basically cutting your audience in half. And I do agree, like, people unlike us who maybe not into comics as much and go to the store every week might not know that's a special they need to pick up if they're reading Amazing Spider-Man. And I know there's probably plenty of people who just have Spider-Man on their pull list, and that's it. They don't know. They have to buy that one shot, be like, oh, whatever did happen in that Kingpin story.
Yep, exactly.
And that book is obviously going to be more money because it's a king size. It'll probably be like something like 60 pages.
Ugh.
So you're going to expect like a $6 or $7 book. Yep. So, yeah.
And honestly, with those 60 pages, they tend to it's a rarity for a larger book to actually be great. I feel like because there's an excuse that there's so many pages, the story gets prolonged a lot. So a lot of times it's like, okay, 10 pages were really interesting, but it took 50 pages to get there.
Yeah, 15-page fight scene and that kind of thing.
Exactly. So we'll see on that one. But we are going to go to our main topic here, which is Boba Fett and Han Solo's untold story is going to be told in a crossover event with Star Wars. And this is called The War of the Bounty Hunters. And it's crossing over with the regular Star Wars series, Bounty Hunters. Darth Vader and Dr. Aphra, which I believe is all the Star Wars books that are out. It's 5 issues, limited series. It's also a 5-issue limited series. I think it's going to be crossing over and a mini series. So I'm not a Star Wars super fan. I do like Star Wars, but I'm not reading any of the current books. So is this going to make you read all the books? What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm only reading Star Wars and Darth Vader. So I'm not reading Bounty Hunters or Dr. Aphra. But yeah, if the event is going to tie them all together, it would persuade me to at least read it for that event, because I really am enjoying what I have been reading of those titles. So,
right. I mean, I look at it and, you know, I feel like for Marvel, I feel like this is Star Wars' first major event, right? And so I think that's a pretty big deal. And also, all these stories have been taking place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
right.
So all these stories, it's been said, are supposedly canon. So this is all really happening. So, and the main story that this has to deal with is what happened in between the time that Boba Fett took Han Solo's carbonite to Jabba's palace, right?
Right.
And so that's the story you're going to get in this crossover event, which I think is actually really cool, because it's like there was some time that passed in between those two movies, and based off of the solicitation that they're giving in this, it's like at one point Boba Fett lost the carbonite, and so all the actual bounty hunters are going after him. So it's like you got Bossick, you got IG-88, and you got all those characters in there that are going after him. So I think this could be a lot of fun. And there's there's prelude issues that take place right before the event, and then you're going to have the other issues as well. So I think this is a big deal, again, just because it's a Star Wars event, and it's something that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of ups the ante for the franchise, and I think it's an original idea for them to do.
Yeah, and it's also building on the mythos of Boba, which, you know, obviously he's getting his own show on Disney Plus, and so you're kind of feeding into that, and it's all, you know, very smart marketing to do all that.
I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody loves the bounty hunters, right? If you like Star Wars, you don't know a whole lot about them until Mandalorian started kind of showing you more about, you know, their history and everything, and so seeing more of them and more of that action, and also filling in those gaps, like you said, in between those movies and what happened with Han in that time is kind of cool, especially when you fold in what's going on in the other books currently and where those characters are at mentally and emotionally, and how that's going to play into it all. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. That teaser image that they showed the other day was awesome, because I'm curious to see if like Boba Fett actually looks like that, right? Because he's got that black, like he's wearing like an all black suit, and he has like an axe and whatnot. And I'm just like, dude, what's going on with him that he's like totally decked out like that, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, overall, I'm excited about it, and I think it's going to get people excited that are fans of Star Wars about the Star Wars comic books. Like, it gives them a reason to check it out, because like you said, people are huge Boba Fett fans right now because of the Disney Plus show, and I think it's cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is all the news for this week. So we're going to go into under the radar for the week. Get into the comics.
Yes, into the comics. Let me get the list up right here, and then we'll get started. All right. So, just a reminder, everybody that's watching the show, spoiler time. So, you've been warned. If you haven't read your comic books yet, well, too bad. We're going to spoil everything and anything, okay? maybe not that much. It just depends.
We're
Anyway,
gonna spoil everything. I'm impressed by Brant, who just did spoiler alert through his iPad. Like, that's pretty impressive.
I'm on point tonight.
he's working on minimal tech today.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Kat, we're gonna start off with you with your Under the Radar, and yours is DC Love is a Battlefield issue 1.
Yeah. I only got this because of Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. I was like, oh, they have a story. They're on the cover. I should pick this up. And their story, honestly, wasn't even the most interesting. I really enjoyed. There's a Kid Flash and Amico story that was kind of fun. They go on a date. So I like that. There was a Sergeant Rock story that I was pleasantly surprised by. And it had a good amount of diversity of characters. So, Mr. Miracle was in it. It wasn't just Superman and Lois. It wasn't just Catwoman and Batman. So overall, I thought it was a pretty solid book. I'm not saying go run out to the store and get it, but if there's characters that you enjoy, I thought everyone had a pretty solid story in here. But yeah, the one I was most impressed with was probably Teen Titans, because I like that couple and I enjoy the Teen Titans. So it's just cool to see them back.
Nice.
Cool. All right, Brant, and yours was X-Force issue 17, which almost was going to be mine, but you put yours first. But
yeah,
go ahead and talk. We can all talk about it. Well, Kat doesn't read it, right?
No, I don't. But I saw the panels, which it seemed like there was a lot of Quentin in there, which is
cool. You would have
cool.
liked this issue, though.
It's all.
It seemed like
Quentin.
it.
The whole issue's about Quentin, and it's funny because we talked about last week. I was gonna drop this book, and Mike's like, "No, you don't want to drop it. You're gonna want to read this," and I'm like, "Okay." So and now it's my Under the Radar. It was a really cool issue focusing on Quentin, who is kind of reflecting on his constantly dying, and then there's like this whole subplot of he's trying to rescue these people, and he sees something, and it's implied that maybe he's the one killing him, but obviously Mr. Peacock has kind of stolen his DNA and is using him somehow. So every time he resurrects, he's losing time and losing a little bit of his memory. And Phoebe's having to kind of fill in the gaps for him every time. And he gets a new outfit in this issue, which is kind of cool. So he actually looks like a superhero now. And there was some character growth for him because he realized that, he has to stop kind of being that, arrogant kid and putting on this whole facade and actually step up and be something. So it was kind of a really cool issue.
Yeah, I love this transformation and new costume and trying to grow up, and the emotional parts with him and Phoebe were phenomenally done. And on the explanation on why she loves him, I thought that was so well done. It was a great book, man, and I definitely am happy I recommended it to you to make sure that you picked it up again. But I'm right there with you. It was awesome, and the ending was crazy. And you get to see, like, he was at a point where he actually didn't really care, because he's just like, well, what's the point? I don't care about myself if I can just get resurrected all the time. And seeing all the deaths that happened in the book was actually quite creepy and scary. Like, he died so many times, it's insane. And it's kind of funny, and in comics, a death, right, would happen so far and few between. But since X-Men have these resurrection protocols, all of a sudden you just feel like these X-Men die left and right all the time.
Yeah, and especially with X-Force, and they kind of touch on that's kind of their job, to go die.
Yeah.
they're the frontline defense, and that's what they do. And it was also interesting because we got to see a little bit of his past with his parents, and what kind of abuse he kind of went through and what kind of shaped him as a person through some of those flashbacks. So that was it was interesting because he had like a psychic key that he pulled out of himself to unlock these memories.
It's like lock and key.
Yeah, exactly. It was visually really cool. So
I don't think they touched much on his past in past comic books, have they?
I don't think so.
Not recently.
Yeah.
If anything, maybe the Grant Morrison stuff, but I didn't really pay too close attention to those.
Right. So yeah, really good book. I enjoyed it too, and I know, like I said, Kat, this is not one you usually read, but again, this would have been the one issue you enjoyed.
Yeah, no, this issue even thematically sounds interesting with the death stuff and how they explore that. So sounded definitely like the best X-Force issue I would have read if I did read it.
Yeah,
definitely. Finally, some like character growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's something that we have not really seen all that much, I think. And I think they did a good job with this.
Yeah.
All right. So since I couldn't do X-Force, one of the last comic books that I read today was actually Casual Fling from AWA. And I talked about this last week, about it being one of my most anticipated. And I thought that this book was actually really good. It's not something that's really original, though. It's like, I would say it's a comic book, though, for like women that like romance novels in a way, because it's like,
yes,
it's about this
that
mom.
stalker comic is for.
It's about this mom who is obviously working a very busy job. She's like a partner in a law firm. Her husband is at home. He's like a stay-at-home husband who's IT, and he's taking care of the kids. And it's just like they got no time for each other, and she's all busy at work. And she meets this guy. He's important within the firm, and they're flirtatious. They go home, and the husband's kind of being a jerk. She goes back to work the next day, and they just have this, like, literally this one night of just passion, because she just kind of has a moment of weakness with this guy that she met. And then all of a sudden, right when it happens, she feels guilty. She goes home and she's like kissing up to the husband, and she realizes what she has is something special. And then, you know, the guy calls her and he goes, you know, how about we see each other and pick up where we last left off? And she's just like, well, you said you were going back to LA today. And he's like, no, I get to stay another 2 weeks now. And she's like, no, I can't. And he's like, well, I like how you're very honest and whatnot. And while he's having this conversation, on the very last page, he's got his laptop computer with him, and he has a video of them having sex right there. And it's like, he's some creepy stalker guy. And it's kind of like 50 Shades of Grey type of thing. Like, while they were having sex, he was like wearing this mask. So the mask, I think, is to cover up who he was and for him to expose who she is. Because, again, she's very powerful in this law firm. And that's kind of how it ends. So
and this is AWA, right?
Yeah, this is AWA. Yeah.
Interesting.
So really, really good book. It was really well written. It wasn't boring. It wasn't like overly sexualized or anything. They didn't show anything. You know what I'm saying? And I thought it was really good. And I was just like, I want to see what this guy goes to try to get this woman, because that's what he wants. He really wants to be with her, and he'll go at any great length, I think, to be with her. So I think it's going to be a pretty good book, and it's 4 issues, I think.
Tinio brings up a good point. Last time I saw this kind of comics is at Webtoons, and I'm always an advocate for Webtoons because there's so many readers on there. A lot more people read Webtoons than regular comics, which is crazy. So AWA has been doing something interesting where they've actually put a lot of their comics on Webtoons. So maybe they had this comic because they knew they were going to put it on Webtoons and try to like convert the audience. Like, I think that's kind of interesting. It's always cool to see books that you normally wouldn't see in floppies, I would say, because it's not like this is not a comic book. It's just like it's not something I would have expected from the direct market, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a great story. It's interesting to see how the father responds when the wife, Jenny is her name, actually is just like, oh, you know, you want to go hang out with the guys tonight? Go ahead. Oh, I'll take care of the kids. Where before she's just like, I gotta go. I gotta get to work. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And it's like immediately she knew she was wrong about what she did, you know? And then right away the guy's pressuring her to be with her, you know, to be with him again. So I liked it. And I am very curious to see how this whole thing turns out.
For my wife, you're making it sound very interesting. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And then we also have who says, I don't know what Webtoons is.
I am surprised that the amount of solid books that they're releasing, and I give them a lot of credit.
Still waiting for my Girl on Island book, but that's
Yeah.
about it. And I'm honestly waiting for Erratic to get better. And actually, we'll talk about Erratic this week, I guess. But I forgot that came out this week. But going back to Serenity's question/comment, Webtoons is pretty much like a webcomic site, but it's more geared towards not us. It's a different audience.
It's kind of the premier webcomic site nowadays that I would think, though. So
right.
It's not really superhero comics. It's more of like romance comics, fantasy comics, anything I feel you wouldn't find in the direct market is what Webtoons is. There's very few superhero comics on there.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's a lot of good stuff on it. Like I read a couple of Webtoons and I think there's a lot of really great stuff on it.
Yeah, Lisa reads a few, and there's some bigger name creators that do some comics over there as well. Like, Justin Jordan. And some others that I can't think of right now.
There's another artist who did like Aquaman for a while. Oh, who did Witchblade? I forget his name and it's really hard to pronounce, but he does stuff on there as well. So I think in the next 5 years, Webtoons is going to be a lot bigger for our community. Hopefully, because I really do think comic books should be utilizing a place that millions of people are reading. Literally millions are reading like one comic on there. So like, why are we not tapping into that to get potential people to read the direct market comics?
Yeah. Are you talking about Sage?
Yeah, that guy.
Stephen.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce his name either, but yeah.
All right.
Tinian says Tiny O says Webtoons is more an Asian web comic. Yeah, there is definitely a lot of manga influence on there as well.
All right, so we'll move on to the big books now. So I'm going to just get a bottle of water, but the book that we're going to talk about is Daredevil issue 27. What do you guys think of it?
I thought it was solid. I enjoyed this issue. More character driven than the previous issues, which I don't mind because a lot has happened in the previous issues. But I love the dual identity of seeing what Elektra is going through and what Daredevil is going through. With Daredevil is more of like his religious aspect and like literally what it means to like carry the devil around you. And then with Elektra is the name of Daredevil. What does it mean to her? And that she doesn't have to pretend to be someone else. Like she could use that name as Elektra. So there was a lot of interesting character beats.
Yeah. Both of those themes and elements were really good. I didn't like it as much as the last two issues, but it was still solid, like you said. And Matt's inner struggle and kind of Null playing into his faith and maybe even failing faith at times, trying to sway him and him fighting it and then using Null's power to fight against Null was kind of interesting. And then Elektra realizing that she doesn't have to be Matt. She can be her own version of Daredevil, which was really cool. Yeah,
I agree exactly what you guys say there. It's all the reasons why I liked it too. I did find it quite interesting how Matt wound up getting the symbiote off of him, going to the electric chair and basically, electrocuting himself in order to free himself from his influence, and it really does show how strong of a character Matt is to fight off Null's influence. I thought that was impressive.
Yeah.
So overall, great book. All right. So the next one we're going to talk about, I think is a really, really good book this week is Radiant Black issue 1. This book had a feel of Power Rangers to it by the time I want to get into the end of it. And so, but I love the character in there. His name is Nathan, right? Nathan Burnett. And his partner or his buddy was Marshall. And I love how this character was very relatable, right? He fits the real world. So it kind of gives you that Peter Parker effect. Like you know what it's like to suffer going through debt and not making it in the real world and struggling and moving back with your parents and all those things, and then him coming across this power and discovering this power was kind of comical. And by the time you wind up getting to the end of it, you find out there's another version of this character, but he's red and instead of doing maybe good with his power, he becomes bad. But my theory with this is we're relating this kind of to like Power Rangers. So I think there's a black one, there's a red one, there's going to be a blue one, there's going to be a green one, there's going to be a yellow one, and somehow they all meet up and they're all going to be friends and they're going to team up and solve the world.
Well, there's a girl character in the back too, so I think you're definitely on the right track. Because if you look at the letters page, there's like a girl with the same, whatever. So I definitely think we're gonna get Power Rangers-esque thing. But I thought this was such a good origins. I really, really enjoyed it, and the artwork really was a slam dunk for it. And I agree, he was just really relatable, and you could kind of tell Kyle put a lot of himself in it because he wrote Power Rangers, but then also the writing side of it, like you're not just gonna write that as a writer and not feel those things. So I thought that was super interesting as well, because usually with stories you don't get stories about writers because writers don't tend to write those stories. But I thought that was kind of a cool twist that we haven't seen with a comic character, is like a creative writer. Sometimes you'll get journalists and stuff, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It felt new but also classic all at the same time.
Right.
Yeah,
I've read the. Oh, sorry, Brent.
No, go ahead, Mike.
I read the letters page in the back as well about his Higgins story, about how he was a huge Power Ranger fan and how Power Rangers was all the thing when he was in 3rd grade, and by the time he was in 4th grade, it was not the thing to follow, and he couldn't believe it. And he would go play football with his friends outside, and then he would secretly go watch Power Rangers, and they all come out and they made fun of him for it. And it was just like, it's sad because he goes, kids are assholes. And you know what? Adults are assholes too. But it's sad because that's how I felt when I was a kid. And that's, I'm sure, how you guys felt maybe at times as kids, because
for sure.
Again, we all looked at that stuff and we loved it, but you were considered a dork or a nerd. And it's just like, it's so sad that that's what people thought of you when you were a kid, because you liked comic books or cartoons and stuff like that. And now you see how mainstream it is, and it's like you almost want to laugh in their face about that,
It's so interesting because like when I was in high school, it was right before the Avengers craze. So like comics weren't popular and no one really talked about them until like Avengers. So I remember when I was in high school, I just wouldn't tell anybody. And then I made it a point not to tell anybody that I liked comics. And again, like that's horrible to look back at, and I wouldn't do that now. But back then I was just like, no one can know, and I like comics. So yeah, no, I totally feel you on that.
Yeah, it was similar with wrestling with me too. It's like when I was in my late teens, early 20s is when wrestling got really big and everybody was talking about it with NWO and all that. But before that, it was like the same thing with comics. It's just that stigma that it's dorky and you shouldn't, you're kind of a loser. But yeah, I really like the issue too. The art, goes without saying, is gorgeous. But yeah, like you said, Kat, a relatable character. I could see some of myself in that character too, with the creative side of that. Yeah, so it's like, okay, I'm reading about a character that's very much like me, that this could happen to me, and that's kind of cool. I like those kind of characters because again, it goes back to my love for Peter Parker. I can see myself in those shoes, to a degree at least. And then with the twist at the end, I love that because I wasn't expecting that at all, and it takes. I mean, I knew there were going to be, or at least I thought maybe there'd be other characters because of the Power Rangers comparison, but I didn't think it would be like it's like robbing a bank or whatever. It's like, okay, this is interesting. How are you gonna take it from there? And are these gonna come together? Are they gonna be at odds? What's gonna happen here? And where does this power come from? And yeah, it was a really cool first issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait for the second one. I mean, this story has so much potential just based off of the first issue alone. And I'm glad that Image has brought a superhero book, because we don't see them that much in Image. Obviously, you want your superhero fix. You want it you get it from DC, you get it from Marvel, right? But again, if you want a little bit edgier, maybe more adult, it's good to publish a superhero book every now and again from Image Comics. I think it was cool.
Yeah.
You can talk about real world things. You can talk adult language without having worried about being censored. And I loved it, and I can't wait for issue 2. Right, so now we're going to talk about okay, I didn't see the number 5 on there, so I was only like going past it.
Somehow
So,
I deleted that. There we go.
There we go. Now it's back. So it's just like that. The magic of the doc. All right, so we'll move on to our number 5 book. Brand, what was your number 5?
My number 5 was Daredevil, so we talked about it.
Oh, that's just like that. All right, Kat, what was yours?
Mine was Radiant Black. We already talked about it.
Mine was Thunderbolts issue 2. I like this issue. I don't think maybe it was as like funny or maybe quite as good as the first issue, but I do like how they had to go get Norman Osborn, and then they're all being overrun, and they had to get out of this place, and they wind up taking this bus, and they're all bickering with each other, and they're going on this mission, and they have to retrieve somebody, and you don't know who they're going to retrieve until the very literally last second of this book, and it's Sentry's body.
Yeah. Half his body at that.
Half his body, right? Because they feel that his body's still electrically charged with so much energy and power that it can stop whatever's going on out there with Null and the symbiotes and whatever. Again, it was good. It was funny. There were some moments in there that were hysterical. Star was quite good in this book as well. And Taskmaster was good. Freaking Norman Osborn just looking at the computer super close to the
that
screen.
also made my panels.
Yeah, it's just so funny, man. It's a good book. It's not bad. It's a much better tie-in than I expected it to be.
Yeah. Norman's all like, Wilson, what do you want us to do? And it's like, get your mug out of the camera, you idiot. It's like, it was there was some funny stuff in the book. It wasn't, like you said, it wasn't as funny as last issue. And it took a little bit for me to get into this issue. So it was like a few pages in, then it started clicking a little bit more, but then you got some of those beats like making fun of each other's names and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Sentry's body, it's like, oh my God, they're taking Sentry's legs. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So it's good. I appreciate how they tied that in. It's like we're making use as much as possible of the Sentry in this series.
Yeah.
So cool stuff. All right. So that was my number 5. So we'll move on now to talking about some more Future State. And this one is Future State Justice League. This is issue 2. So what'd you guys think of that one?
I mean, I've been really enjoying Justice League. I thought it was a very solid issue, and I like that it showed that they needed to know each other to be a stronger team. Still one of my favorite Future State stories for sure, and wish we would get more of them. It kind of gives us a teaser. Maybe we will, but I'm sure we won't anytime soon.
Yeah, it's not my top 5, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. I think last issue was a little bit stronger for me, but what you just said, Kat, where they had to come to realization that it benefited them to know each other, especially dealing with these shapeshifters that were literally taking their form.
Right.
So that was cool. And the fact that they got together and it felt like classic Justice League by the end of that, okay, let's pick our new members, that kind of thing, sitting around the table. So he in the end, he did get his father's Justice League, only a different version of it. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I liked it. You can only tell only so much story in those 2 issues, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of was just like that moment of real tense moments between the characters about, well, how do I know you're not lying to me? How do I know you're not lying to you? And blah, 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 blah. and then they resolved and they fought, and obviously it's wrapped up in a bow where it's just like, oh, we defeated the bad guys, and but again, it was a story that was a little bit more emotional, and that's, I think, what made it better than some of the other Future State books, coupled with the artwork in there as well. So this was a good book. I liked it. One of my more favorite Future State books. I agree with you guys. Unfortunately, it's just like it's with Justice League Dark, and I didn't even read that story. So
I also did not read Justice League Dark. I was not in the mood to read it.
I did read it, but I wasn't feeling that story. So
right. So that's what sucks. Like, that goes back to buying books that you're going to have to pay extra money for a book that you're not part of, a book you're not going to want to read, Yeah. So
I tried with the first one, though. I won't say, I at least tried it, But then after, I didn't like the first one. Why am I going to try out the second one?
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. This installment was better than that one, but it was still the same thing. But there was some more character moments with Satana and Constantine and different things like that towards the end, but they were very short. So I mean, you could literally skip to that page, read that, and be fine.
Cool. All right. So next we will be. I don't know what you guys think about Amazing. Last time you guys liked Amazing Spider-Man. What did you guys think about Amazing Spider-Man issue 59?
I'm just gonna say Liz loves to cry. She loves it. It's like it's her hobby. I didn't like it. Is my answer on that one.
I was honestly trying to remember what happened. The only thing I can remember is Norman sitting on the roof with Normie.
Yeah, this one's Norman's trying to get closer, I guess, to the family. Yeah. Again, Liz cries a lot more about it. It's a Kingpin story with Mr. Negative, which
Mr. Negative.
And May gets involved.
You're right. Yeah. Mr. Negative obviously becomes Mr. Negative again. He's like, so obviously the spirits go back within him. And then you wind up seeing Spider-Man's like, no, I got to put you away. And then right when that happens, Mayor Fisk turns up and he arrests him. And Spider-Man's like, there's something going on there. And then, of course, there's something going on. And here we go. The Tablet of Time situation. Do you have it, Mr. Lee? And Mr. Negative's like, yeah, I have it right here. And he's like, well, can you get me the other one? He's like, yeah, sure. Let me stick you in a room with a bunch of other criminals that are going to help me get it as well. And you're going to be racing for it, basically.
Yeah.
So it sets up the next story arc.
Right. Yeah.
Which doesn't look very interesting.
But the next story arc the next issue has to deal with Mary Jane and Peter.
Yeah, that I'm all for. I'm all for my MJ and Peter, but that's like one issue. I'm sure it's gonna be MJ leaving. You're like, gotta go film that movie. Bye, Peter.
I just so I don't even think the next issue is again. It's just going to deal with those two, and it's not going to deal with the current story arc. And that's what I mean about this book being so jumpy, right? It's just like it never feels like it can finish a story arc. It will finish it later on, and none of these story arcs are really all that great anyway. And so you're dragging them on, and so he's got to revisit, and like Brant said, he's got to close those story threads, And so you go back to the story, and you're like, oh, we're going back to this again. So it's just like Kindred was the biggest story. We spent 50-something issues getting to that just so he could be put in a block of ice. And now eventually when Nick Spencer's going to be done with his run, we're going to revisit that again, and we're going to relive Kindred all over again.
Oh, God. See how it goes. Not excited.
Right.
Now I kind of have an understanding about how Captain America fans were upset. I understand you're upset about Hydra Cap, but now I understand how you felt because the story just went on way too long.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the biggest point is like it's not that like, oh, I'm upset with the story or whatever. It's just boring. I'm like, I don't want to say I'm wasting my money, but it's just like you're spending so much money and time on something. It's just like something you would want to be excited for. And I just feel like nothing happens in this book.
Yeah, and also the more I read it, the more I feel like Spider-Man's out of character a little bit, because he's always just jumping to conclusions and jumping the gun, and he's not
always
giving anybody
angry.
the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, always angry. It just doesn't feel like Spidey.
He honestly doesn't feel like he has much of a characterization now that you bring that up.
Right.
Like, what is his arc? What's his character right now? He's the main character of this book, but what is his story?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He doesn't even feel like part of his own story.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And then again, now and then all of a sudden in like 2 more issues, he's going to somehow get that new costume. Like, what's the point of the new costume? And then after 2 issues, he's going to be in his regular blue and red again. Because if you see in the solicits, the advertisements for the issues after that, he's back in regular costume again. So what's the point? There's just, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like I've been too hard on Spider-Man, but I think I don't know. I think I feel like I have a legit reason why
no, you definitely
liking
do.
this so much.
I don't even think you're being that hard. I don't think any of us are being too hard on it. I think we're being very honest and critically thinking about it.
And that's the thing. We all want to love this book, and we all,
we did at one point.
Yeah, we did, and we all, appreciate Nick Spencer's writing in different books, and it's not clicking here, and I'm kind of ready for something new. So
yeah,
which is what we thought we were getting with his first 25 issues. Which is, I think, the most disappointing part is that he can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the last story that I enjoyed was that Craven story. I actually liked that story.
I don't remember which issue that was. I think the last one I remember loving was Amazing Spider-Man issue 25, and that's when they went into Mary Jane getting her own series and stuff like that. I think that was the last issue I loved. No, I also liked the J. Jonah Jameson issue, the radio show one. Yeah, that was probably the last one I liked.
Yeah, that was good. Honestly, I think if he just eliminated Kindred from the picture and just didn't even worry about that, I think he would have had a really strong series.
I agree.
And kept the supporting cast, because they just disappeared after that first arc, right?
They did.
So
I don't know. We'll see where it goes, and we'll see how long he's going to stay on it.
I think he's going to be on for at least until issue 100. If I had to guess, because the story is not even close to being over.
Right. That's too long, man.
It's too long, but that's definitely my prediction.
That's what is it? Come out twice a month?
Is it 3 times?
Twice. I think it's twice.
Okay.
I don't think it's 3.
Well, if it's twice a month, that's still a long time.
It's still half a year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're close to it. Yeah. Wait.
All right, so let's go on. Let's talk about our number 4. So, Kat, what was your 4th best comic this week?
Mine was Future State Robin Eternal. I thought this is a really solid Tim story where we get to see him go through the Lazarus pit. But what I liked about it was in his point of view. So it's his mind being crafted by the Lazarus pit. And we don't know if he dies in the end or whatever. But obviously I love the Stephanie moments as well. But I just thought it was a really good character-driven story, which we were talking about. A lot of these Future State books aren't. They're just well, why do these stories exist? And it just feels like filler stories. But this honestly felt like I had a meaning, and it was a good Tim story. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's did he live or did he die through all that? And I like this one. I actually like this. This is kind of weird, but I actually like this second issue better than the first issue. I thought it was
Me too.
Artistically, I thought it was better. And I thought emotionally it was better. I love seeing the struggle that he was going through between what was reality and what was, what was real and what was fake. So I loved that. I really enjoyed it. It was number 6 on my list, but I still really enjoyed it.
It was close.
Yeah, this is actually my number 4 as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I like this issue better than the last issue too. I can't really add anything on to what you said though, Kat, because that was pretty much it. But yeah, just his struggle and trying to cope with what his actual feelings were and what the what the Lazarus pit was kind of making him feel at times, and then the whole thing with Stephanie kind of being there for him and everything. It was just cool. Tim's my favorite. Always has been my favorite Robin. So when he gets a chance to shine, I'm always on board for that. So.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. That was a really good Stephanie issue too, because the writer really got the character really well.
Right.
Even the moments where he's like, well, she's not good enough. And like, I love those moments because I feel like Tim has felt that in the past with Stephanie. Stephanie has always proved herself. So it definitely was very much in character.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny asked a question. He says, have yet to read the books for this week, but I do download them digitally for free on Wednesdays. So are you talking about the DC books that came out today, or are you talking about last week's books?
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
We don't read.
But just remember, if you did read this week's DC new books, don't talk about them. We don't want them spoiled.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're moving on to Brant. You're number 4, or are you both at the same number 4?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, and I'll just do my number 4, which is a book we already talked about, X-Force issue 17.
Nice.
So we'll move on now, and we'll talk about the next Future State book. This is Future State Teen Titans issue 2. What did you guys think about this? Because this one tied into Shazam and the Flash. So what did you think about that after you read it?
I wanted more out of this, I think. I wanted more. I wanted the reveal. I want to know who the Red X is.
You're not going to find out.
I didn't like that they took his hood off, because it was just like, what was the point of that? That was stupid. Because like, okay, if you're not going to reveal it, you're not going to reveal it. I felt like it was too little but too much. Like they're trying to say so many things that nothing was said.
Nothing happened.
Yeah. I mean, I like that they were tying all that together, and it made it feel more like a cohesive story between all these books. But yeah, I agree with you, Cad, that it was too much and too little at the same time, which is kind of really hard to pull off. So
yeah, and you know what? I give that to Teen Titans. They really pulled that off. This is actually my least favorite book of the week as well.
Wow,
yeah.
It's not that low for me.
Yeah, it wasn't that low. I did find it intriguing. Like, it does make me want to pick up Teen Titans Academy. Like, I want to know how that school was formed, and and all these the things that lead up maybe possibly into Future State.
Right. Yeah, and I like some of the things they did in it, like Roundhouse being one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and that kind of thing. I thought that was kind of cool.
He was so demented looking. I'm like,
yeah,
extra on them.
Yeah, so I want to know like how these heroes in particular got infected by these forces, and how that played into everything. So yeah, there was a lot of interesting parts about it, but last issue gave me like hope. I really liked last issue, and then this one just didn't quite deliver what I was hoping for out of it. So
right. We got this message in here, and Casey says, just got my alert that my LCS has my pull list. Keep hearing that people's LCS didn't get their Marvel comics, so be prepared for that. Obviously, with all the storms that are going on, it's very possible that a lot of us might not get their Marvel comics tomorrow. I could be one of those. I usually get my LCS newsletter like first thing in the morning, and they'll let me know if there's going to be delays for comic books.
I haven't heard anything. I usually would hear at this point if they didn't get their books, because they'd let us know. So hopefully they have it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that to our attention. All right. So we talked about the Teen Titans. Now we're going to be talking about Erratic issue 3. This is the book that Kat wanted to talk about. So what was your issue with Erratic, Kat?
I want to love blonde girl so much. Like, I want to love her, and I hate her. I don't feel like anyone has a character. I feel like they're all different characters in every issue. So blonde girl is narrating this issue, so we get everything from her point of view. But I still don't know who this chick is. Like, what's her, like, first she hates her attic, then she likes him, then she's like going shopping. It's just like I feel like I'm reading a different book every issue, and I just feel like the characters are all over the place. And again, just blonde girl. I just want to love her.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, I actually found the book more interesting when she was talking, though, in this book. Because it was, I found myself less interested with Erratic because I actually liked how she was in class and she noticed that things are not right and people are all being manipulated by this principal. She goes in the office and kind of like the principal's powers were depleted for the day, and she's just like, all right, everyone's suspended. And she hangs out with the badass girl or whatever it is, and they go shopping. And I actually like that. Yeah, her character was a little bit different, but at the same time, she wasn't with what's his face, Oliver, right?
I do agree with that, and I wish this was the first issue of the comic. If this was like the first issue, I'd feel so differently because I really do think they introduced some interesting threads. But like I said, every issue feels different. It's like, what's your overall story? I don't get what the point of this series is anymore.
My thing is, I think this series needed more time to develop these characters a little bit because it feels like they're rushing their development for me. Like blonde girl, which I can't remember her name either.
Her name is just blonde girl to me.
Just blonde girl. I felt like you did, Mike, where she was in the school and realizing that things were off, and it felt like she was starting to come into her own a little bit there because it wasn't the same status quo of let's just point A to point B, do the high school thing, whatever. It was like it felt like she was, I don't know, growing a little bit for me. But at the same time, like if you had more time, more issues to kind of make that progression more naturally, as opposed to every issue she's got to get to this point, to that point, and so on. So for all the characters, it would be better. I did like this issue. It's not my top 5, but I also liked the way that it ended with Erratic seeing his brother doing this thing, and then he gets apparently shot. And it's like, okay, that's that's an interesting twist for the character. What happens to him now, and how's that going to affect his brother if he finds out he's kind of partially responsible for that? And so there's a lot to love. It's just, I don't know, it could be much better.
I want to love this book is the issue, and there's only 2 issues left of this book.
I feel like
crazy.
I feel like you said, Dave, it's like they're trying to give a character like their own story arc in a way. Like this one again focuses on blonde girl. The last one focused on Oliver and his brother a little bit more about how fitting into high school. And in the first issue was about the mom, how she was trying to get a job. And like you said, they're kind of rushing it. This is not going to be the last time we see Erratic. I think there's going to be a volume 2 or maybe an issue 6 or something as time goes along. But I agree. I think they should have made this a longer series to start off with so you can tell your story more. Just think they're trying to cramp in too much.
Just more concise. Just like tell a better paced story, not to like rag on it. But I feel like if you only have 5 issues, you got to use those 5 issues to tell a complete story.
I think there's just too many characters to do that.
Yeah, I could totally see different kind of book, sure. But I could totally see, pacing like Invincible with these characters. You have that many rich characters that you could build and develop in this series, and that are interesting enough to build. Like, I want to know why the coach is not susceptible to the principal's, abilities. I want to know more about that. I want to know more about both of these girls. I want to know more about Oliver and this other guy, the professor that comes in. There's so many threads you can pick up, but they just do not have time to build any of that.
Yeah, I agree. And it'll be very interesting to see again there's no way they're going to be able to wrap this up in 2 more issues. So there's got to be another volume or something. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll find out and tell. But I agree with you guys. Like, I want to like this book so much. It has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
A ton of potential.
There's a reason we're all still reading it for sure.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think there's a good idea there. All right. So let's move on to number 3. And my number 3 this week was Taskmaster, issue 3, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this book is not as strong as issue 2, but I don't think any book is going to top that issue 2 when it comes to this series. But this book was really good, as you get to see Taskmaster go on to his next task, and he winds up having to fight or go against White Fox in this particular issue. And to get there, he's got to use pin particles or like generic pin particles. And he hops onto that superhero, goes to the division, hides in an air vent. He's just like chilling, watching the conversation. Pin particles go wrong. He's like, oh shit, I got to get out of here. He's running through the air vent real quick and he gets big. Then all of a sudden he starts fighting White Fox. He's just like, oh, the Captain America move that I threw over, and this punch that I learned from Iron Fist, and you see all those panels in there, and he's like, but I don't have a name for any of them. It's just so funny, man. And then Black Widow comes into play, and he's so scared of her, though. Why is she so scared? Why is he so scared of her? Like, he beat Hyperion, for crying out loud. You shouldn't be scared of Black Widow at this point, right?
You wouldn't think, but I mean, she's got such a reputation in Marvel. I guess it's like you don't cross Black Widow; she'll find you no matter where you go. I think is the point. It's like no matter what he does, she's gonna find him.
Right. So, but overall, again, I love the narration from Taskmaster in this book. It's so good, and it's so funny in so many ways. And I just can't wait for the next issue. Really good.
I liked his conflict when because he had that backup plan where he blew up the whatever it was, like this thing. He clicked a button and everybody just kind of knocked out.
Oh, the people that he injected with supposedly
psychic abilities or something. So they just like did a brain melt on everybody and knocked them all out.
He told them, he's like, I injected you with superpowers and you the strength of 10 men.
Yeah.
And they go to fight that super. I don't even know who that guy's name was.
I don't know.
And he goes and punches him, and he's like, I thought I was supposed to have the strength of 10 men.
Yeah. And so he's like standing over Black Widow, and he's like conflicted, and he's saying like, I could end her right now. I could just stab her. She'd be done. I wouldn't have to worry about it. But then if she came back to life, she'd find me. It's the kind of thing. It's like, nah, I'll leave her be. And just, it was a cool, like, little, moment of conscience there.
Yeah. You can see he chose the right path right there,
Yeah.
So, yeah, another good book. I really liked it. All right, Kat, what was yours?
Daredevil. We already talked about it.
Okay. Then Brant?
X-Force. We already talked about it.
Mm-hmm. That makes it easy to move on. So we'll go ahead and we're going to talk about, we talked about Robin Eternal. So we'll just go on right to our number 2. And I'll go back to Kat again. What's your number 2?
Mine was Fantastic Four, issue 29. I thought this was a really good King in Black tie-in for me. It first starts out a little, I don't want to say slow, but different, where we get to see, Human Torch going on a date with his soulmate and Sue crashing it. And then it actually all ends up connecting because the Human Torch gets nullified and his soulmate gets nullified because of her connection to him. So I really enjoyed how it all tied in, honestly. And there's a lot of good character moments with it. And I was just pleasantly surprised overall.
I thought you would like this issue.
And I did.
Yeah, I didn't like it as well. And part of the reason was, like last time, I remember seeing that they were fighting and they weren't sure if their relationship was going to work out. And then all of a sudden they're just madly in love. So there was a little disconnect with that for me. And then when I don't know, there was just some beats in it that I didn't like the whole thing where we got the eavesdrop on the conversation between Spidey and Human Torch, and it was like, go back and read King in Black 2 to see the rest of this, and it just, I don't know, some certain things took me out of the story a little bit, I guess, but yeah, I mean, it was still a solid issue, and I do agree it was a pretty good tie-in. And Sue, a big overprotective sister, spying on him and everything, of course. So I'm curious to see where it goes from here, though, because I really do want to like Sky.
Soulmate girl, yeah.
Yeah.
Sky, yeah.
Yeah. So.
I like that she's becoming a bit more developed because she's like knows the town a bit and stuff like that. I enjoy her. I don't think she's like, oh my god, I love her.
Right.
But she's interesting enough so far.
Yeah, I agree.
I like this issue. I read it and I liked it. I got to know more about this character that I had no idea about and how the relationship was. So being that I've been behind on this series, it gave me a lot of insight to her, and it got me to see how Sue thinks about the whole situation too, and how maybe she's a little bit jealous, or being protective as well. I love the ending too.
Yeah, with Thing.
With Thing,
cool.
He's just like, oh yeah, where are you guys? And he's obviously nullified too. Yeah. So that was awesome. I love the artwork in it. I thought it was really good, and I was just like, wow, this is something from Dan Slott that I have liked. I'm enjoying that, that I haven't liked from him in a long time. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. His Fantastic Four run has been pretty solid. There's some Dan Slott of isms, I would say. Like things tend to be really, really crowded and there's like 20 characters on a page. But when he hits home with like issues like this where it's just really about the family. Like I didn't like the last arc. I know you guys really enjoyed it, but I thought it was way too crowded. It was very Dan Slott in that way. And I was like, okay, way too much is going on. Scale it down a bit. And this one scaled it down for me.
And it's funny that Sky is kind of coming into her own because she came out of that one arc that none of us liked, I think.
Yeah, no, I hated that arc.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and I also like the moment with Reed where he's like, I call myself Mr. Fantastic. I'm hardly what you call subtle or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's good. I at least he finally admits something like that. So yeah,
that's fine. All right. So that was good. I really enjoyed it too. All right. So, Kat, were you first to go on this one?
Yeah.
I forgot. Okay. So, Brant, go ahead.
This is number 2.
Yeah.
Already talked about it. Radiant Black.
All right. And my number 2 was a book we already talked about as well, and that was Daredevil issue 27.
Nice.
All right. So the next one we're going to talk about before we get to number 1 was Future State Dark Detective issue 3. What did you guys think about this one? I thought this one was a little bit lackluster for me.
Yeah, it just fell out of my top 5 because of that. It's like I love the art, I still like the pacing of it and everything, but there wasn't a whole lot that happened. The biggest part was the 2 Batmen coming face to face.
But I was disappointed with that because like they come face to face for like
there wasn't much to it.
Yeah, it's like why did they come face to face? But I like the stuff surrounding it. I like learning more about the daughter. I liked paranoia. I still think this is one of the stronger Future State plot-wise.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Stories.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the daughter and her whole confrontation with Bruce and calling him lazy and all this kind of stuff and enabling her dad and all that stuff. It was solid. It just there wasn't enough forward momentum with this issue, especially with only one more to go. Right. Yeah,
absolutely. I thought issue 2 was so well done because we get that whole story of what happened to Bruce, how he survived and whatnot. So I don't think too much is going to trump that actual issue, Sure. So, but I mean, I'm not saying that this wasn't bad. I still think this was good, just not as strong,
Right.
I agree with that. We do have a question from, I don't know if we can answer this question, but we'll try. Kenneth Crayley asks, how come we haven't seen Quake in Marvel Comics? I mean, the best answer I could give is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is over, so they're not going to try pushing her as much in the comics.
Yeah, they haven't really been pushing any of the Inhumans much lately. So,
I think the show failed. The comics,
Yeah.
didn't do as well. I just feel like the Inhumans don't, besides Miss Marvel, because she hardly relates to her Inhuman heritage, they just don't connect to the audience as much as I think Marvel wants to, or maybe fans want to.
We saw her pop up in
she was in a book briefly.
Yeah, with
it was
what's it
oh
called?
my god, what was that book? It was like War Machine and her, and they had to team up to rescue Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't think I read that one.
There was that, and then I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think she popped up in the one with all the Asian characters.
Yeah.
The Atlas.
Atlas. Yeah, that's
Agents
what it was.
of Atlas.
Remember.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
The book I would talk. Oh, it's the Iron Man 2020 tie-in.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That's why.
There you go. She showed up pretty recently. If those are two of the series,
right?
But I think like if you have a character like Quake, I think that if you were to bring back Shield in the comic books, she could probably fit in there.
She could probably lead it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, she could take the lead role in that book. Yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah, no, Kenneth, I wasn't saying that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. failed. It just ended. So, that's the reason. It's just, I don't think as many comic readers are invested to see that character in the comics.
Yeah, Kat meant the Inhuman show. The
Inhuman shows I was talking about, which did fail for sure.
That was a fail.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So we're going to go on to our number one. My number one was Radiant Black issue 1.
Figured, yeah.
So what about your Brent?
Mine is probably the same as Kat's, which is Power Pack issue 3.
Yay!
Yeah. It was a good, solid issue with Julie. I was kind of hesitant because it was very narrative heavy through a lot of it, but I just love the way that the kids, they realized really quickly that something is up. And it's Agent Aether or whatever his name is. It was his fault, right? So it was like they're not dumb, They came to that conclusion of their own. But I love the progression of them finding that out because they're battling Taskmaster. Of course, Taskmaster shows up again.
Show up.
Yeah, and their powers aren't working. They're not at full capacity. They're so tired, and it doesn't make sense. They can't, but they still use. What their knowledge of how their powers work and everything, the best Taskmaster who can copy everybody. So it was kind of cool the way they did it too. Like Julie took center stage and she's like, I got to make him think. He's got the upper hand. He can beat us, and then that's how we beat him. So it was kind of cool that she kind of literally fell flat on her face just to get the jump on him. And then, of course, the confrontation and the reveal of who Aether actually is and all that. So it was a really solid issue.
But I thought it was a really good Julie issue in particular because so in this issue, which is not even just like this was a good Power Pack issue. It's actually a really good character arc that's been building for about 10 years, where Julie pretty much says like, I keep quitting being a hero. I must not be very good at it. I must not really be a real hero unless I sacrifice myself. And at the end of the issue, she might die because she sacrifices herself for her family. And it really makes it this really interesting overall arc about Julie, who, in the loners and all that, she pretended to not be smart. She didn't want to have power. She didn't want to use her powers because she's like, I want to leave that behind. So to do something like this, I thought was really interesting. And hopefully Julie doesn't die. I'll be very upset if she does, but I just thought it was a really heroic moment and it was a really good arc overall. And it's, my only complaint is the artwork for this book, but I overlook it because I'm just like, the story is really good for this book. And
I liked it. I like the
You like the art? I feel like it could be more detailed at times, but I do like the book a lot.
Yeah, it fits the vibe I think they're going for. Like those super exaggerated face plants by both Taskmaster and Julie. That kind of, that's evidence of the kind of style that they're going for with it. I would love to see a Power Pack book that is more detailed, serious, kind of see a different take on them. But I just love the way that they balance each other so well, and they know each other so well. Obviously they're siblings, but I don't know. Even though they argue and they fight and stuff, when they're in action, it's like it's a well-oiled machine. And
oh yeah, they know how to be a team, and that goes back to, I know Brant read this, but Runaways, where when Julie and Carolina were going out, Carolina's like, we're not really good at being superheroes, and Julie knows how to like work a team because she did it all her life. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I definitely don't think the Julie issue disappointed. And there was actually shocking moments here. It's a book that moves really well. And Tevye even asks, is it connected to Outlaw? It is, but why I think this is successful, it's very loosely connected to it.
Yeah. It's literally just that they had to have a mentor. And that's where Thinker comes in, Aether. But yeah, that's the only real solid tie into it. And they're like that first issue, they're questioning, they've been doing this hero game all this time, and why do they need a mentor now? But yeah, so I like that. I like those kind of tie-ins with that kind of thing, especially if you're not totally invested in Outlawed. But yeah,
it's a good book. Read Power Pack.
Awesome. All right, so that is our top 5. So I don't think we had anything in the chopping block, did we?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah, Brant
Okay,
does.
so we got. All right. So, Brant, you're dropping Eternals and Homesick Pilots.
Yeah. So Homesick Pilots, I found myself bored with it this time around. Like I really did enjoy that first issue, but I kept thinking your words, Kat, keep ringing in my head, the character development. And even though I think there is some development, it's heavily focused on gotta find these ghosts, gotta put them back in the thing. Oh, I wish I was playing in a band again. And I don't know, this one lost me a little bit, and I decided I'm not invested enough. I found myself rushing to get through it. And when I do that with a book, I realize I'm not really enjoying it. So with Eternals, kind of the same thing. Like like Mike and I talked about last time, the last page was what caught us with Thanos, coming into play. But once the newness of that wore off, and it's like, okay, this is why he's there and that kind of thing, I got bored with that too. So it's like, do I really care?
Yeah, I didn't even pick it up. I thought about it, and then I'm like, nah. I'm like, if it's that good, then I'll pick it up later. I was like, there was one page, but the rest of the book, I was like, I didn't like it. So why am I going to pick this up?
Honestly,
there's too many books out.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think you would have liked this issue, Mike. There was this big, like, the major part of the story this time was what's his name, Icarus.
Yeah.
He was going through time because he saw some kind of future where this boy on this primitive boy on this island was going to need him to show up to fight a monster. And he found the boy through time after many tries, and he tells him, okay, watch for the monster, let me know. And this guy watches his entire life, gets old, has a family, but he never leaves this beach. He's constantly on vigil for this monster because he thinks Icarus is a god, and he's waiting for him to come back. And when the monster finally shows up, Icarus is like, oh, it was his grandson, not him. And they're all like, you wasted my grandfather's whole life. It's like, what? So that was like the whole story. It's like, and then it's like, okay, Thanos is here.
Oh God.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy
there would
it.
be no reason for me to
No.
read the book. Not at all. I'm still reading Homesick Pilots. It's like this issue was not that great for me.
Yeah.
But again, I heard that this book picks up. Like, it takes a while to get to where it needs to get to. Just because my comic book shop guy that reads like just as many books as I do, if not more, he wound up getting access to the first 6 copies of it, the first 6 issues. And he says it takes about the first 6 to kind of really start to get the gist and understand what happens. And he says it starts really to pick up from there.
6 issues, though.
Yeah. I remember, nothing for nothing, though. I remember Walking Dead was the same. I'm not saying this is going to be a Walking Dead,
Right.
but what I'm saying is that nothing really happened in Walking Dead until you got to issue 6 when Carl killed Shane.
Yeah.
And when you saw that, you were like, oh, okay, now I got to keep reading. And so there was that hook, and it took 6 issues to get there.
Yeah.
But also, I think from Walking Dead, though, there was at least a visual hook that was so different because you had the black and white. So for not saying that, I mean, Homesick Pilot looks beautiful, but it's a book that looks similar to other books that have been out. So you have to really scream out, like, okay, what makes this different? And from that first issue, I was like, oh, especially because the synopsis sounds so interesting, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds cool. And then they didn't get that.
Yeah, but then the next 2 issues, it's just, okay, you got an evil house and you got a girl that's been taken into it, and now she's collecting haunted artifacts, bringing them back to the house. And that's like, it's become a little formulaic in that way. So, and like you said, Kat, there's so many books right now that it's hard to stick with the ones that you're not enjoying as much as others. So
I'm getting 18 books tomorrow, and I'm like, how am I going to read this all?
Yeah, like I read 21 this week, so it's like
I had 21 books right now.
Right.
But I didn't read all of the Future State books. Like, I wound up getting Kara Zor-El, but I didn't wind up reading it. I started reading Superman, Wonder Woman. I was bored to death by it.
Yeah, I flipped through that one. I'm like, I'm not going to read. I was wanting to read that one. I just sat there and I just went, if I don't read this, it's not a big deal because it doesn't matter, you know? Mm-hmm.
So I was like, whatever. So I didn't read it. I read the last story of Green Lantern because it has to deal with Hal Jordan, and it actually says to be continued in 2021.
Yeah.
So it has to continue with the Green Lantern book that's getting ready to come out. So I did read that, but the first 2 parts of the story I didn't read. So, but there was a lot of the Future State stuff I didn't read this week.
I read it all except for Kara. I didn't get that one.
Man, but I only read Robin, Eternals. I read Teen Titans, Dark. All the ones we talked about were the only ones I read for Future State. And then next week, I think I'm getting like 3 of them. I will say I already read. I'll not spoil a comic, but spoil what I'm doing with the comic. I read Batman, Catwoman because I had to read some of the books early because I just have so many tomorrow. I was like, I need to read some of them early, so I read like some DC books, and I read Batman, Catwoman. I'm like, you know what? After this, I'm dropping this.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about that next week.
Finish it. That's how bad it is. She said she was going to.
No, I can't. It just I gave it a 3-issue try, and this issue had Huntress in it, and I was like, is it Huntress? I forget what her name is, but the daughter. And I was like, I was looking forward to her, and she didn't impress me, so I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm gonna drop this book. Too many books. But I did read it for this week, so if we talk about it next week, we will. But after that, I'm not. Like, maybe I'll flip through the pages, see if anything's exciting in the future. But yeah, I'm not getting that one anymore.
Okay. All right, so we're talking about next week's books. Let's go to it. Let's go to most anticipated, and I'll hand it over to Brant.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so speaking of Future State, we got the next Batman issue number 4. So that's the last one of that one, right? And I don't remember what the backup is. Are there backups?
Batgirls. Yeah, Batgirls and Gotham City Sirens. I'm only interested in Batgirls, honestly, on that one. Like, I'm more excited to see how Batgirls ends than next Batman.
Yeah, I'm definitely not interested in the Sirens one. That was.
I don't even know if I'll read it. Like, I keep going back and forth. I don't even think I'm going to read. I'm just going to read the same.
Other 2. I'll read the next Batman and then just move on to the Batgirls. That's it. Yeah. Exactly. I wound up reading it.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to see how next Batman wraps up too, but it's I don't know where you can really go from there. Not much has happened. Let's see. We also got where'd it go? There it is. Nightwing issue number 2. So I like the first issue. He teamed up with Batman, right? And
Yeah. And that team
was
up
pretty
actually
good.
like lasted a while. It was like most of the issues. That was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
that
liked
was
it
good.
too. He used the old Arkham Asylum as his like
Right.
Batcave or whatnot. So that was cool. I liked the issue too.
Yeah.
And the artwork's
And then-
good for that, so I'm looking forward to that.
And then the one Cat didn't like, Catwoman, number 2.
Yeah, I'm not picking it up.
Yeah, Mike and I enjoy. Are you getting it, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm getting it. I liked it. I want to make sure that was Bruce Wayne in that train, and I want to see how like this kind of ties in to everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Me too. I really enjoyed the first issue, and then finally Shazam, which Kat, I think you're the only one that marked it actually.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know I was the only one who marked it, but I like the first issue, so we'll see where it goes. I did read it.
I thought you liked it too, Brian.
I did, but it's when I was thinking about like what I'm most excited for, it didn't make the cut.
Didn't land on it.
Yeah.
I like I said, I enjoyed the first issue, so I wanted to see where the second went. I'm also curious to see like, will Shazam have a home after this? Probably not, because his series got canceled. So like, does this matter? I don't know.
Well, I mean, considering what happened in Future State, if they are tying all that in, maybe he'll pop up in Titans or something.
Yeah,
somewhere.
true.
I don't know. All right, moving on to some other books. We got the Immortal Hulk Flatline #1.
I've enjoyed the one shot, so I'm interested to see what that's going to be all about. I don't know who's writing it. Let me see. Immortal Hulk Flatline issue.
I don't even know what this one's about. Who like?
I don't either.
Character?
No, it's not. Okay, it's written by Declan Shelby, so different.
He's going against some kind of different creature, or he's got. I forgot what it was. I remember reading the description, but I don't. Now I forgot what it was. It sounded interesting.
Declan Shelby was 28 days later, I think.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I enjoy Immortal Hulk. I want to see what this one's about, and it's cool to get one shots sometimes. Just beginning, middle, and end type story.
Yeah. Mike, you talked about this book a little bit last week, X-Men Legends #1.
Yeah. So this is the one that I think Claremont and some maybe of the other writers have to deal with. And then you got Brett Booth, who does the artwork, at least I think in a couple issues to start with.
He's doing the first issue, and Fabian Nicieza, who's done obviously co-created Deadpool, is doing this issue because I just looked it up.
He also
what's interesting about this one is that if it was another week, I think I would have tried it, but because I was getting so many books, I'm like, I don't think I care enough unless it was like a Kitty Pryde Chris Claremont issue. I don't think it looks very one-offy. It looks like, okay, if you enjoyed this era, pick up this issue.
Right.
Well, I'm picking it up because it's going to be that X-Men era. So that's right. And I want to see like when certain stories supposedly take place and what happened. So, and I think if you are kind of, jonesing from some classic X-Men, I think this could be a good, like, that palate cleanser, right? You're in that heavy grind of, your everyday weekly books, and then you get this. And it kind of just brings you back a little bit, clears your mind, and then you go back to the other books. I think that's, the way I'm going to look at it when I read this.
Gotcha. Okay. And for me, I just want to plug this book, actually. Black Cotton #1 from Scout comes out tomorrow. And I actually designed the logo for this book. So if you want to support a book I had a hand in, go check that out.
There we go.
Gotta look at this logo now.
Yeah, Brian Hawk, he wanted something that resembled Walking Dead, so that's kind of what I base it on.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, thank you. Brian Hawkins is a really good writer. He's got books everywhere right now. I don't even like Black Box Scout. I think he's got some come out from Zenoscope. He's got books everywhere, so go check it out. And it's a cool concept too. It's like it's like if history was reversed. But it's a really cool thing, and the art looks really cool as well. So go check it out. All right. Second Coming, Only Begotten Son, #2, Cat. I think you're the only one that reads this.
Book is so good. You guys have to read it. Yeah, I love this book. Every issue just reminds me how much I love this book. Sometimes I'll pick it up, be like, oh, it can't be as good as I remember, and then it always is a slam dunk. So it's always a bright side in my pull list.
Nice. And a book that we're all enjoying, Black Widow, #5.
I feel like it's been a while since the last issue came out. Yeah.
I think the last one was when the family got blown up, right?
Yeah, it was a big issue.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's been a long time, and I can't wait to see like how she recovers from this. How does she move on? Like, there's so many little things that have happened, and you want to know like where does she go from here? Like, this is a good book, man.
Yeah. Real quick, let me answer, Casey. I know you can get it through Scout's website. They were posting about it on social media earlier today, that it is up there for order, so you can get it that way. But yeah, no, Black Widow, yeah, it's been since that. So I want to see what happens too. Like, did they survive? Did they not? Where do we go from here with Natasha?
Right.
So, yeah, absolutely. Let's see, where do we want to jump to? Marauders, #18, which interestingly Kat did not mark.
Because I feel like it's going to continue that Storm arc. I don't think it's whatever that last issue was kind of boring. So
right.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was a King in Black issue, and then we had that issue before it. You're right.
Yeah.
With that. Yeah, you're probably right. I shouldn't have marked that off. I'm not excited about it now.
I had forgotten, so now I'm like,
I remind you guys why I'm not excited for it.
We got TMNT, The Last Ronin, #2. I saw somebody else put it in the comments. Been waiting for this one for a while, man. That first issue's been a while, but it was so good, that first issue.
Yeah,
oh my goodness. So I'm excited.
Wait for that book. I'm so excited for it, just to see like April and the conversation there, and where does the book go from there? Because it started off like very action heavy. Now I want to see this story maybe more develop on like his brothers and what happened and all that other stuff. Going a little bit in depth with that.
Yeah, and I want to see if he actually survives all this too. It's like, I mean, he's literally going up against an army single-handedly. It's crazy. We got, let's see, where do I want to go from here? Iron Man #6. So
Iron Man was good.
Last issue.
Okay, so last issue, remember we had the reject heroes like Frogman.
Oh, right.
Not that Scarlet Spider's the reject, but the plane, the jet that they were in got blown up.
Right.
And he got pissed off and he used all his powers in his suit to try to defeat Korvac. It was kind of a fail. He did a little bit of damage and he had no power left. And Korvac basically stepped on his neck and snapped his neck.
Iron Man's been so good. It's interesting. I feel like a lot of tomorrow's books are a lot of like, not B level, but they're not like, okay, your King in Blacks or your new issue ones, but there's like a lot of hidden great golden nuggets that are coming out, like Black Widow and Iron Man and stuff like that, which I'm excited for.
Yeah. But speaking of which, King in Black #4 does come out tomorrow. So
it does come out tomorrow. I'm not excited as much as you guys are, but it does come out tomorrow, and I'm sure it'll be better than the Future State books.
Oh yeah. This event has been so good. So much better than I thought it would be. So yeah. How many issues is the main series, Mike?
6.
Is it 6? Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds so wonderful. I feel like it's been such a long time since we've had a big Marvel event that's like only 6 issues.
Yeah.
And not even that though. I know some of the tie-ins have been a dud, but when you look at the overall scope of the tie-ins, it makes sense how it's happening. Like the symbiotic dragons just affecting all the little corners of the Marvel universe and seeing how the heroes deal with it, their particular situation. I think that makes for a good tie-in. And like we were talking about like Thunderbolts before, like with the whole Sentry's body falling to the floor and they got to deal with something with it. And just like, I like how this has all really kind of gelled quite nicely. Like if you got this in like a whole collected edition or on the bus or something like that, this would be a really good book to have in a collection, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And for the most part, like the way that they've tied it into books has been really well done and organic. Like Fantastic Four this week we were talking about. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Fantastic Four is a perfect example of that. You know, like all of a sudden you see when their dragon hits and trying to take over Yancey Street, you know.
Right.
Just if they left Namor out of it, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Always leave Namor out, right, Kat?
Oh yeah, kill him off forever.
So one that I really liked last issue, Iron Fist: Heart of the Dragon, #2. That first issue really surprised me. It's hard to do a good Iron Fist book, I feel, at least for me, and this one got it right. So I'm really excited to see if they continue on that trend, and yeah. So beyond that, we got Family Tree #11, which I am not reading. So you guys take it.
Penultimate issue of the series. Yeah, so interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it ends. It's going to be weird, you know. I love this book. It's just such a quick read. It really is.
It's very quick, which I also kind of like about it is that like when you have so many books to read, it's kind of nice just to read Family Tree. So much happens, but it is a smooth read.
Yeah.
Yeah. KC goes, Namor was a good way to help me fall asleep.
Pretty much. Yeah. All right. So our last two books are books we all read, which is cool. So we got Stillwater, #6, is it? Yeah, #6.
Yeah.
The last issue, one of the town's members got stuck in that fire, I believe. And they're just like, the doctor.
Yeah.
And they're like, no democracy. We're not listening to you, which I enjoyed that issue. I know Brant didn't like it as much, but yeah, Stillwater is another series that I like that it's for the long haul. You know, I like that you could tell. I mean, hopefully you could tell that it's going to be a lot of issues. And it kind of feels more like a TV show than a comic in that way.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, I definitely want to see what happens after that. Obviously, their whole little ecosystem was upset, and now it's becoming more of a military state in a way. So it's going to be interesting to see how they cope with that, and you know if he's able to get out at all. So
yeah, I agree. Awesome book.
Yeah, and then lastly we have Thor #12.
Yeah,
even more awesome book.
Yeah,
Jane Foster, so ready.
Yeah,
reason to read.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what this list said, but it said something about they used to date, right? Like her and Donald Blake used to be a thing, you know, that kind of thing. So it's building upon that. So she should have more of a prominent role in this issue, maybe.
Yeah,
hopefully.
And she had a really good moment in that last issue. So I'm ready to see more Jane. I feel like she has to share the spotlight with everybody. I just want to see Jane have her own spotlight.
Yeah.
Well, she did. She had her own book for a while.
She did, but now it's the Valkyries.
Yeah.
But this is Thor, and she's not.
Yeah, but she was part of. She was part of that.
You're reaching. You're reaching. Don't worry, she'll get her own book.
It should be a Jane Foster book. Let's just get Odin's Son out. It's Jane's book now.
Yeah.
This is Thor's such a great book, though, man. I just love how he kind of all plays into things, and it's so good. Same thing. This is another book where it's just like I gotta hurry up and I want to read it right away. I'm so impatient when it comes to the new books because it's like I want to read those first, and then you get all the other ones at the end, and you're like, okay.
That's Yeah, that's why I always try to save at least a couple that I really want to read for last. It's hard sometimes, but
I try to mix it around.
I left all the Future State books last to read, and I was like,
I saved, like this week I saved Birthright and Erratic and something else. I saved those for near the end, and then I was like, I got impatient, so I was like, time was running out, so I was like, okay, I'll read those, and then if I have to read the rest. So Graham Pavey asked, is crossover going anywhere?
I've been enjoying this series.
Yeah,
I think it's
I have
also
too.
another series that's a little bit more of a slow burn, though. It has a
Mhm.
bigger story to tell, so it's not like it doesn't look like it's gonna be a 4-issue miniseries. So
No, yeah,
Right.
it looks like it's going to be a solid story.
Yeah, it's definitely playing the long game though. But that's all the most anticipated.
All right, so that's it. So we're going to wrap up the show. You guys got anything else that you want to talk about today?
The only thing I will say is that I've been talking with my artist for the last Ember, and it seems like we are going to be close to on schedule at the very least. So that's really good. I got to see layouts for the entire issue yesterday, and looking really good. I'm excited to start sharing that with everybody.
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, piggybacking off of that, issue 7 of Life Folly Daughter digitally has been out to everybody. So read it if you backed it up. And then it's going to the printer. So hopefully in like 2 weeks or so, I'll be packing up the packages for everybody. And then right after we pack everything up, the Dancer Kickstarter will be up. So the Dancer issue 1. I posted a lot of videos this week on my YouTube channel, so go check that out. I talked about DC Solicits. I talked about Miracle Molly. Loud House in Casa Grande has had a lot of episodes. I've been doing coverage for that. And yeah, my Buy Visibility anthology is still accepting submissions until March 18th. There's been a lot of great feedback for it, so hopefully you guys could go check that out. All retweets are thanked for sure. We're up to we're 5 favorites away from 300 favorites for the post. So
Wow,
definitely,
nice.
yeah, it's doing very well. And really excited to read even more entries. I've read some really moving entries already. So definitely go check that out. Other than that, I mean, that's enough. That's it for me.
All right, yes, and guys on my channel, Comic Book Corner 2.0, go ahead and I'll go through the videos that I have. Vote for your top 10 comic book covers of the week. You can check that out. Check out my top 10 most anticipated comic books for next week. That video came out today. The haul goes up tomorrow. So, of course, check that out and see what I got at the comic book store. If there's comic books waiting for me at the comic book store. And on Thursday, stay tuned for the After the Pool episode where I take the 5 comic books from my pool and I discuss them and give you my thoughts on them. And so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and sign off for the night. Remember, guys, if you like this stream, whether you're on the Comic Book Weekly YouTube channel or on Comic Book Corner 2.0, you go ahead and just subscribe to the channels. You can go ahead and hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any content from us. Give it a big thumbs up. And, of course, follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, YouTube. So with that being said, this is me, Mike Spider Slayer, Cat Comic Uno, Brent Fowler in his hotel, signing off, and we'll see you guys